Hey guys, good afternoon. We had a jam-packed day. We'll go over it real quick. So, for the volatility, we got stuck in the morning. We got a vol crush. The open at 7:30 came in and crushed it down to the daily one, and then it just sort of sat there in this really small volatility range. Did come down to the lower daily one. And it was still very small. I mean, there was nothing going on except for we got the normal bounce off of the daily one, which you would expect. So the dealer would be delta neutral. And then they announced the Iran situation where the United States is closing the embassy in several Middle Eastern countries to get our people out. And it looks like Israel is going to be in a situation with Iran in the near future, potentially. So say your prayers for that and hope everything resolves without uh, too much conflict. Um, so that caused the volatility to go crazy and it ripped through the daily one up to the upside, came back in, but then broke out and went to the twos, but then came back in for the close. So this um, continued, buying. People were buying VIX calls at that point. But the ES and the NQ stabilized. They got a little bit outside the one, but then they came back in and flatlined. So they stayed delta neutral. And for me, the pain trade today was so painful because after we got the nice big move at 7:30 a.m., nothing. I mean, it just rolled over. And I knew it was going to do that because, well, let me leave this open. The monthly one right up there. Um, and it got a little bit over its skis, and I thought we were going to have a breakout and they were going to move their risk out, and they shoved it back inside. But it sat up there for the longest time. It didn't move. The news about Iran really got it moving, but it just sat there. And on NQ, pretty much a carbon copy of ES, but the NQ on that initial breach, not as deep, and it never regained really 22028. And we'll take a look at that. So 22028, right up here. Where did it go? Right here, this daily one. So it tried to break it, but 045 stopped it. And 064. 064 is a 30-day one. So it got up to 064, which also was the daily one and the 30-day one, and then it rolled over. So dealer got short up here at the Globex 2 on the tick. And so they were short this whole time, crushing the vol, I might add. It's not that like they just, sell the futures. They also sell the volatility to crush the futures. And they had to like put us in this pain grip of crap trading this morning where it wouldn't break out and it wouldn't go down. And you're just like stuck in this blender of no activity. So very painful, slow summer, trading inside these ones. It's, really a better proposition when you're trading futures instead of messing inside the ones. Just sell premium. Open an options account, sell the premium, and know where your option levels are. And if you do get a break out that's confirmed, like with a second bar close, there's no close above it on the daily, um, or on the ES, or nor on the ES, should I say. Then you could get some directional trading opportunities, but they have us locked down. The PCE is probably what is causing them to rethink moving their risk out. Those prices are probably high. So the CPI came in cold, but that means that people can't afford to pay for anything. It's not that great necessarily to have, you know, low CPI if people aren't spending and it's anemic. You kind of need some activity, a little bit of inflation to show that the engines are humming perfectly. So if we have higher prices tomorrow, that's going to send this south. And dealers are pretty good about, understanding what these reports are going to do. So they might be expecting a hot print tomorrow for PCE and didn't want to move that risk out. Remember in April, not that long ago, um, they had to move their risk out several times. So they didn't want to have to turn around and do it again right away. These are quarterly, but here's your monthly. They didn't want to have to turn around and do it right away when they had, they got stuck moving risk in and out a couple of times on that hedge, and the overall position was underneath these monthly ones. Risk was moved out, and they had to hedge a couple of them. So if I'm right and we have a hot PCE, it makes sense why they don't want to move the risk out. If we get a good PCE, I'm going to be so mad that they put us through this pain for no reason. But because they're a hedge fund, they can hedge it, move the risk out, bring it back in. Um, the market was really wanting to buy today. The market was ready, willing, and able to buy in to this rally, and the dealer sat on it. They sit on the bid and the ask. Nothing we can do except for complain. Okay, so here's the crude oil, 1.5 times the range. Um, I got my analysis a little bit backwards today. It was weighing the fact that the inventories for the SPR weigh that against the devalued dollar, and which is, and then the tariffs with the low inflation, trying to, put all these different macro pieces together. And what mattered was, in the end, what mattered was the Iran situation. That's when it really started taking off right here. And no, up here, sorry. Up here, that's the Iran right there. off the daily 3. Hit the daily 3, hung out, and then took off when I ran. But the SPR um, is pushing the price up, and I thought for sure that the dealer would, or everybody would sit on these 30-day ones, and they didn't. So my 30-day one thesis for the crude did not work. It did initially, and then it didn't. We did sit on it for a little while, and then it broke out, and then it took off. Right here was that 30-day one. You can see it did sit there for a little while, and then it broke out. So once it breaks the one, that's when you can start getting that trend um, condition. So we want to look for the 2, break the 1, go to the 2. Where did my crude go? Right here. And they're up here. 69.35, 69.03. So those are my targets. These were our ball 2s. I think this was a 30-day 2 and a 30-day 3, but the monthly 3, these are all monthly levels. And the quarterly initially stopped on a dime at 67.68, but that news out of Iran was just too strong. And people, just start buying crude oil calls and everything. It gets real popular. If there's going to be any oil displacement, it's not like Iran supplies oil to the United States. So I'm not really sure the correlation to why crude is higher. It doesn't make sense when you think about it. What does, you know, crude oil price have to do with Iranian oil being sent to China? Um, if that's disrupted, China's the one that's going to be in trouble, and they would be buying our product. So more demand, less supply. But more demand from President Trump refilling the SPR and more demand from China. So we'll be pumping oil for sure. All right, so there is that. As far as gold, it did nothing. It flatlined inside the daily ones. Flat, flat, flat. And I don't know what happened to Bitcoin today. It didn't do anything. It flatlined also inside the daily one. It's holding on the weekly ones. So we've got a real good chance to bid it up overnight, take it back up. So very good. We were coming off this monthly one coming down, but we hit the weekly one target, and now it's time to go back up. And there's your quarterly ones. So it's actually a good time to be interested in maybe that Bitcoin. And that would make a pretty good cheap risk trade right there. All right, kiddos, that's all I have for you. We'll get the Globex report out, and see you in the morning. Let me know if you have any questions.